Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, just let me turn it into a full screen. Said he confidently.
Remember how to do it?
There we go.
There we are.
Boom.
I don't think anything will fall out the normal picture size.
No.
Okay. So there's been quite a few questions from various people about what's happening with the hall. Well, about I think the Thursday before last, it started to move when Barry received some documents from the parish council, and that's enabled us to start looking at what the opportunities are and what the inhibitors are. So this presentation's to quickly take you through what's happening and where the thinking of the committee is. All right, but we need to take some actions as well. And one of the first actions will be for each individual member of the Camera Club to read a document which is in draft form at present, which we'll send out. And at the end of that document, there's a request that you send, yes, I will be able to attend meetings at the clubhouse, or no, I will not, or no, I do not want to. Okay, so it's a yes or no answer, and absolutely nothing else needs to be done. You just need to send the answer to Peter. Okay, but we'll get to that again a bit later on. Okay, so I'm just going to put my glasses on so I can read the screen. Okay, so everything that we are handling is exactly the same as everything you see in the public domain. Central and local government are unable to make any definitive forecasts, and everyone complains bitterly about it, but that's the way it is. However, the council has done, the parish council has done some work in preparation for the further easing, and the documents actually say from September the 1st. Well, I don't think it will be September the 1st. It's likely to be closer to October than it is beginning of September. Okay, but they've given us some documents, and then we need to what? Sorry, one of my neighbours signaling to me. The club is needing to find a way to operate that's both inclusive and protective of our members. So there are some members who whose health situation means that they have to be very careful about how they mix with people, and others are nervous about mixing with people, and some want to get together at the club again. So that's why we're asking for a yes/no answer when you've read the document. Okay, we've been running okay during the lockdown, mainly due to Peter and Gary working on the competitions and evenings out. Okay, so the following is a snapshot. The three documents issued by North Baddesley Council were what the parish council will do with respect to the pavilion, a parish council risk assessment for the building and grounds. Okay, so that's got nothing to do with anyone who uses it. That's just their, shall we say, legal document which enables them to say, well, we did our bit. If anything's gone wrong, it's down to the individual hirers of the building. And they've also introduced a new pro forma contract, which I think Barry's got a copy of, which we will have to agree to if we're going to go back into the clubhouse. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so that's where we are. So what the council will do? Well, they're going to provide some 2-metre markings and define a one-way system for people who enter and leave the building. They may be doing something with the car park as well, but we have not got any detail on that. But all this should be fairly straightforward. They're going to provide hand sanitizers at the entrance and exit of the building. Okay, so we're going to be entering through the grey door at the side and exiting through the door where most people come in. So that's actually a fire door. So you'll have to reverse your thinking when you arrive at the club. When you arrive at the club, then obviously we don't want people all congregating outside. So as people are let in, so some more can come forward and try and gain entrance. Okay, they're going to provide a regular cleaning service for the building and some extra rubbish bins. Now, the reason for the cleaning service is to just clean the place daily, and has nothing to do with preparing it for any individual club or whatever to be safe. That's down to the individual clubs. If anything goes wrong, that is, they track a COVID type outbreak, then they will stop people using the hall and do a deep cleaning process before reintroducing it again. Excuse me, I've got a cough. Not used to talking. They're also providing an isolation room, which we didn't know anything about. That's not for putting wayward members in. If they're actually taken ill at the meetings, then we can put them in the room so they're isolated from the rest of the members. And they are providing the hire with the prerequisite requirements and procedures for using the pavilion. Okay, and all of those we have to build off of. Did someone try and interrupt then? No? Okay. Okay, so the council risk assessment for the building, it applies to the actual buildings and the grounds. So you'll see things in there like the boiler room and things like that. Basically, it says we've handled the whole building as an empty entity, and the same with the grounds and other entities like the showers, etc. So when we've managed all that, we produce a risk document. Okay, now they want us to produce a risk document that applies to the way we operate. And the way we operate is going to change, so we're not ready to produce that document yet. Okay, we also have to produce procedures that our members follow to ensure they stay in conformance with the council's wishes as to the way the building should be used. Okay, once again, that's a future activity. And we are responsible for controlling the movement of our members during the meetings to ensure that a 1 meter social distancing is respected. Oops, what else going on? Okay, so there's a whole series of things going on that they claim they're doing and they want us to do. And we've got to kind of integrate our approach into what they've asked for. Okay, so the third thing here is this control of movement of members. Now the hall is capable of, with 2 meter distancing, having just 12 people attending the meetings. With 1 meter distancing, then we have the capability to handle 28 people. And we're going to be somewhere between the 12 and the 28 is my guess. Okay, but once you're in the hall, when you're sitting down, things like the face mask can be taken off. Everyone will be facing in the same direction as we do with the PDI. So that's the minimum infection area. So everyone faces the same direction. And we separate the seats out with 1 meter gaps, and all that's laid out before you arrive. The difference is when we start to move around the club, and we've got to provide procedures which include things like, if you start to wander around, put the mask back on. Okay. The 2-year pro forma contract, which I mentioned earlier, is very similar to previous contracts, but there are 16 COVID special conditions applied. And of course, we've got to agree to those and build that into our risk assessment and our procedures. Detail that you don't need to know about, but it's something that needs handling and takes time. So we end up with 3 basic possibilities. We ignore the pavilion and continue with the current approach of Zoom meetings and nights out. Okay, that can kind of get to everyone who's prepared to enter a Zoom meeting. But I think tonight we've probably got about 15, 16 people on board. So we're hitting probably 2/3 the club only. Okay. The second point is we can restart the pavilion meetings for those members who are willing to attend. But the problem with that is, of course, we're now eliminating those who do not wish to attend the meetings in person until this COVID crisis is over, or those who have health problems and will not be able to attend. Okay. Finally, what we want to do is to restart the pavilion meetings with those who are willing to attend, and then stream the meeting via Zoom to those who are unable or unwilling to attend in person. Okay, that kind of brings the best of both worlds and involves everyone. And then it's the choice of the individual as to what they do. Now, this is a little bit of a technology challenge. We have already pointed out that we've been unable to stream things from the Camera Club in the past. The broadband was unreliable and we couldn't get consistent connections. So Peter and I have had that problem. Barry's been copying the parish council on what our concerns are. And they've been very good. They've responded almost immediately to those concerns and given us answers. On this particular one, they say they've had BT in, who found a problem with the broadband, and that is now fixed. They've also had a data company come in to handle things like the Wi-Fi. Now, I'm quite prepared to accept what they say, but at the end of the day, before we can do anything, we need to get in there and actually test it out, because I'm sure they've not had lengthy conferences going using that broadband. Okay, so we've left that one, as far as we're concerned, open, and it's just a concept, and we need to do some work to prove that it can be done. And it's quite complex to do this. If anyone's had an experience of trying to run a remote meeting and an attended meeting at the same time, then perhaps they could let us know so that we can pick their brains. Okay, so what now? Well, the committee have drafted a document for each member to consider. Okay, I mentioned this earlier. This will be amended after a Q&A session which follows this presentation. So if when we finish this, you've got some burning questions, then you can ask, and if we can, we'll provide an answer. But nothing is promised. If we can capture all these questions and embed changes into the document, we'll try and get it sent out. And I assume, Peter, you could send it on Friday if I update the document on Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
The key thing about this document is we're expecting each of you to read the document and respond as requested in the last section, headed Now You. Now, it's quite a common discussion amongst the committee that we send something out and people say they've never received it. What they haven't done is read through the whole thing. So we're aware that reading a 3-page document is not a pleasant prospect, but please ensure you read the Now You section, which is right at the end, and respond to Peter, because we are not going to let members not answer this. We need a yes or a no. Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the,
what we actually.
Sorry, I was just going to say that's basically part of the COVID directive, is that they must confirm that they've read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Colin.
That's okay. Now, at the end of the day, I guess there are going to be some of you who still aren't sure which way they should go, a yes or a no. If there's any doubt, vote no. Okay. You can always come back in later if you change your mind. But we'd rather get the size of the hardcore people who are prepared to attend. Oh, here we go again. So, let's just check I'm on the right one. Yep. In the event that the results of the poll show that it is not viable to return to the pavilion, that is, we're only going to end up with 4 or 5 people, then all bets are off. We don't know where we're going next after that. In the event that the pavilion is viable, then this is what will be going on. First of all, we have to develop the risk assessment, develop the procedures for operating in the pavilion, and agreeing and signing the contract. Okay, so they're the 3 priorities to get ourselves hooked back into the pavilion and be able to start running the meetings. I don't know how long this is going to take, but it could be 2 or 3 weeks. I just don't know how quickly the council will respond when we do give them the risk assessment and procedures, or whether they're going to want to nitpick all the bits and pieces before agreeing to allow us to sign the contract. Then, in parallel to some of that, I hope that we can check out the broadband for streaming on Zoom. Okay, and it looks like we need to run, as Peter is doing at present, 2 laptops at the same time. One of which is controlling the streamed meeting to the remote people, and one of which is controlling the presentation that's going on inside the room. Okay. So we have to develop a methodology for these live presentations of Pavilion and the parallel streaming. We haven't tried it. When we started these Zoom meetings, it all went rather smoothly when we started them, and we quickly learned how to manage it. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to do it with a remote presentation going on, handling 2 different groups of people. So it's going to take probably 2 people to run the meeting and try and keep everyone informed of what's going on and get feedback from various people. So you can imagine that anyone who's remote might want to ask a question. Someone who's handling the remote group will have to watch the chat line and see when someone asks a question, so that we can stop the meeting in the pavilion and get some sort of response to it. It may be too fragmented that way, but we need to try to find out. My glass of wine is just arrived. Thank you. Cheers. It's only a little one. Right. So that's enough. Now the questions and answers. If you want to ask a question, if Peter turns the sound back onto everyone, it's going to probably, if there are any questions at all, develop into some sort of chaotic Tower of Babel situation. So if you have a question, can you put it on the chat? You don't have to put the question on the chat, but just indicate on the chat you have a question. And then Peter will allow you to come in and ask the question so we can all hear it. And then if possible, one of the committee will answer that question. Everyone clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, people, go. I'm going to stop this share now.
Yeah.
So we can see her. Okay, so anyone got any questions? Peter is now taking over the meeting.
Yeah. So either put it. Oh, someone's done it on chat. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So Ray's asked, how should we sort the tea breaks, biscuits? And he's smiling. But we to start with, when we first go back to the pavilion, the kitchen will be locked and we won't be using the kitchen. So we will ask you, if you would like a drink, to bring yourself a bottle of water along.
Okay.
Bring a flask with some coffee in, because opening the kitchen creates another
Too small.
yeah, it's too small. It's going to create too many problems for us to manage, and I think it's easier to just look up and say, to start with, until we know where it's all going, we will keep the kitchen locked. Then that takes away the possibility of people congregating in there and having a little chit chat, because we mustn't do that.
Of course, we don't know what to do with Trudy and Jackie during that period, but there we go.
I think Jackie has a question.
David M, you got a question?
Jackie.
I was just commenting it'll be bring your own.
Oh, I wonder what he was. Was that just too much to type?
Of course, yeah. I like giving you challenges anyway.
Yeah, thanks. I thought BYO. I thought, what does that mean? He wants a question. Anybody else got anything they
Bring
want to
your
ask?
own drink.
Jackie?
Jackie.
Jackie?
She's on
Rose.
mute.
Just hang on,
She's
Jack.
on mute.
You move
I've
Jackie's
on.
asked
on
her to
mute.
unmute.
I don't know if you can see, but I've raised a couple of.
Just a sec, Roy.
I
Let's
know.
just get.
I can hear you.
Right, we can hear you now. Did you have a question?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
a
yeah.
question, more of a statement. I think,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, things have been going pretty reasonable up to this last week or so. And speaking for myself, you know, I think I was about ready to come back, but now we've got this bit of a flare up. Do you think maybe we should wait just a little bit longer or not?
Well,
Anybody?
Well, we don't actually have in this area at present, do we?
If we're really bold, and it might have been reasonable to suspend it for a bit longer.
But you think not now?
I think it'd be interesting to see what the stats are like, you know, with the schools going back this week. You
Well, I
know.
don't want to be an old worry guts or anything, but you know I'm a bit concerned anyway.
yeah, yeah.
But having said that, I've enjoyed going out this last few weeks so much, and enjoyed everybody's company and just the banter and getting back into it again. That I was kind of looking forward to going back to the club, although I know that it's going to be under different or difficult circumstances. But listening to the news again tonight, I'm thinking, would it be the right move, you know, or should we maybe wait longer? Should I wait? Any ideas? Any thoughts,
Well,
Well, it's not
Colin?
say that again, Colin.
it's not going to be instantaneous, Jackie. As I say, we've got to develop these procedures. We've got to do the risk assessment, got to get it agreed amongst the committee, and then get it across to the council.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Barry knows, is there a procedure that the council has, you know of, Barry, for approving these documents?
Well, Joan is obviously expecting a reply from me. And as you know, she sent me the contract, which I passed on to Peter to sign, which I assume he's got by now.
Yeah, I've got that, Barry, and I read it today.
And then once it's signed and sent back to the council, they will then give us a date of when the pavilion will actually be open. That's how I read it.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we're ready to provide everything they want for probably a couple of weeks. Okay, because we've got to agree this risk assessment and make
Yeah.
sure it's integrates itself into their risk assessment. Okay, now I can always write a document, but it really does need to be agreed by the committee as to what form it takes and how we go about it. So I think I understand what your question was about the instantaneous return. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be at least 2 or 3 weeks. I think probably beginning of October before we actually start.
Okay.
And I would just say, Jackie, I appreciate, you know, we've had a chat about it, you coming back. I would say, if you're concerned, don't come back. You know,
Try and get rid of me.
no, not at all. But if you think, if we're not going to open the kitchen, we've not got much point for you.
You'll live to regret that.
I don't mean that, you know that. No, I think it's very important that everybody does what they feel happiest with.
Yeah, yeah.
And of
yeah.
course, until we actually open and go along, you know, we are certainly not going to do anything that puts anybody's health at risk, because it's only a camera club,
Yeah.
and there's such more important thing than the club. We can, and I don't think there will be a problem with us doing, if say 8 or 9 of us go to the club, the rest will be able to follow it on Zoom. I'm sure we'll be able to set that up, no problem. It's just the biggest problem, I think, with doing the meeting via Zoom from the hall is if the internet doesn't work.
Yeah.
Connection.
Because I know they've told us it's been sorted, but we've
Told us
tried
that before,
using it
haven't they?
at meetings before and it just cuts out. You just lose the signal altogether. but we can only assume. I mean, they've been open about it and said that they've sorted the problem and they put a better line in. So we can only assume that it is all good now. So I think it's just a case, if you're a bit concerned, then, I mean, if you know, and then in 2 or 3 years, go, it's not like you're saying can't come to the hall,
Yeah.
because we're going to put the seating and provide enough room for everybody to attend that wants to attend. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Roy, did you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I think that to Jackie's point, I think that, you know, what you said, I think common sense will prevail. The other thing is, of course, the hall owners are the council, and the council are going to do exactly what, you know, the government thinks is right. So I think if there is a chance that it needs to pull the plug, then it will. And with us on the look as well, then I think all should be all right. Anyway, setting that aside, is there any cost penalty to any of this? I mean, if we have to go back to paying for the hall and we are paying for Zoom as well, does that affect the subs, or
that's something we're going to have to discuss amongst the committee.
Yeah, when we finish the meeting tonight, in a minute, we're gonna the committee are gonna hang on and have a conversation about that, Roy.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't have. I don't think it will impact on the financial side in the short term, but obviously we just need to. It just depends how long it's going to go on, and what we decide to do.
Yeah, I suppose my fear was that the price of the hall would zoom up if they're going to provide all these cleaning materials and everything, and disposable this and that. I just wondered.
Well, they've not mentioned any increase in the letters we've had from them.
No. At the moment, she said that the fees are going to be exactly the same as they were before.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, for the unforeseeable future.
Yeah. And the 2-year contract that we've got to sign, that doesn't discuss the costs. It's merely a contract saying this is what we've put in place for COVID.
Yeah.
By signing this, you agree to abide by those rules and that you've understood them and have taken the necessary action. But action is obviously we've got to give them a risk assessment back.
Yeah, but we're not committing ourselves to hire the hall for 2 years or whatever at a given price.
No.
Okay. Because when you said that, I thought, I think with a new contract, is it a new price? And then the only other thing I was going to talk about is that I quite, I find weekly meetings quite punchy, I suppose is the right word, and I quite like the Zoom meetings. So from my perspective, I'd be happy to come to the hall, and then the odd week that I can't, get to the hall, to use the Zoom meeting as as something I might be able to do that week. So, so I think from that point of view, it'd be quite good.
Fine. Yeah, well,
Roy,
obviously... Go on, Colin.
Okay.
You're frozen. You're frozen.
Roy, the reason that we've got this
No, you've gone, Colin.
Coming out to everyone, and the yes/no answer is to attend. All right. Anyone decides to do after that is entirely up to them. Okay, but and it just come up saying your internet connection is unstable.
Mine has, or yours has?
I don't know. It appeared on the screen. Anyway,
yours.
That's why the answering of this question on the end of this document is quite critical. And what I would like to do is to ask you all to have answered to Peter by next Tuesday morning, so that when we get together next week, we've got a chance to have a quick look at the numbers and make some sort of decision as to what general direction we're going to go in. Because until we've got those numbers, we don't know which direction to take. Okay, so it is critical that you get your answers in by next Tuesday, as far as I'm concerned. Peter may want to push it out further than that, but I think next Tuesday is not unreasonable.
No, out as soon as you get it over to me, Colin. I'll get it out, so it'll be out before at the latest.
Right.
There'll always be some that are a bit slow responding, but I can chase them.
I'm happy to turn it around quickly.
Fine. The majority are, but we'll get one of the.
You mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. One thing that does concern me at the moment is they talk about the daily increase of about 3,000 people at the moment. That's nationally, right? That's i.e. the school kids going back, the universities going back, and the football and sports starting up again. Then once all this starts up, we're starting to rise. We're starting to take the spike up again with all these people involved and all these things going back. Surely it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So I would probably wait a month before looking to see how the universities get on, whether it goes up.
Well, I think probably Keith put it up, and I think he's
Well,
probably
I
the
mean,
best qualified to answer that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but it occurs to me that whatever plans you lay and whatever people feel, there's quite a potential for the whole thing to be disrupted from outside.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't at all surprise me if university students return to Southampton in droves, spread the virus around, and we have a local lockdown, or they restrict the number of people who can meet in halls and things like that. So I wouldn't want you to be locked into a contract where you were paying a bill and, we couldn't meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, thank you.
Plus there's the increased risk for people, obviously,
Yeah.
and circumstances like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the council would be quite happy for us to go back, and then if there is any spike in Southampton, that we would be able to suspend it again.
I expect that's right, yes.
Yeah, and once it's calmed down again, to get back together, I would think. But
If we all turn purple and green, or green, it wouldn't be quite so bad. You can see the pandemic. But what's to say that one of us doesn't meet someone else that's got it, and then you can't say it, you spread it on to the next person.
Yeah. Well, this is it, isn't it? I think this is the problem with it. You don't know that you're spreading it,
No.
so it is a bit awkward.
Say it in the document, or say in the document. Really does depend on your own circumstances and the circumstances of those around you in making this decision. So if you're confident and you want to come back, then that's your decision. If you're not confident, then even though you'd like to come back, but you're not sure, then the answer must be no, because we don't want to put pressure on anyone to come back if they don't feel really confident about it. Hence our focus on the Zoom meetings, because then we've got those people who really do want to meet up coming in, but we're still supporting those who are remote. Okay, so there's no pressure on anyone.
I think that there's an issue. It's the wrong people making the decision. I mean, at the moment, it's something like 1 in 3,000 people are infected in the country. So you've got, a 15 in 3,000 chance of somebody in the hall being infected. And then the measures you take, the distancing and wearing a mask or not, probably reduces your chance of infection by a factor of 5 or something. So by far the biggest risk is that somebody is actually infected in a group of 15 or 16 people who get in the hall. And the risk of someone being infected depends on their history that they can assess, not the history wants to try and decide whether they should go to the hall or not. It's actually up to the people who are more likely to be infected because they're mixing with students or something. When I'm on the wrong side of 60 and my partner has asthma, so we're worried about it. But we haven't been near anybody in 2 months and quarantining everything that comes in the house. There's like virtually no chance at all that I've got CV-19 or will have in the next week or something. But that's not, so I'm not a risk, but other people are a risk to me. That's why it's a decision that I'm safe to come back. It's other people need to think, am I at risk of being infected because I hang out with students all week or something? And they shouldn't be risking the rest of us, if you see what I mean.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I wanted to make is all the 1 meter distancing and the masks and all these rules are not so that you don't get infected. They're so that on average the number of people infected doesn't rise. The measures to keep the overall transmission rate down, hopefully below 1, in which case the pandemic fades away instead of growing. So all these measures are not like saving you; they're saving everybody. You can't sort of rely on that I've worn a mask and everybody's been 2 meters away or whatever. It means you're not going to get it. By far the biggest risk is somebody else that is one of the 3,000 that has it. I mean, that's just, I don't know. I don't know if people see it that way, but that's sort of my assessment of the risks and how you should think about it. The other thing is that at some point, the risk of you driving there in a car is bigger than the risk of you getting it. The risk of you being injured in your car to the pavilion is going to be higher than actually COVID and causing any damage when you're there.
The risk to someone who has a significant underlying exposure to any sort of illness, that may cause them to worry, is different to the one where a 76-year-old like myself who's gung-ho, everything we've done, we think we've done right, and we're continuing to do right. And the risk is there, but so's life. And so it's an emotional and a statistical operation. And that's why we have to push it back on every individual with no judgment at all involved, but for them to decide, yes, they're prepared at this stage to commit to come forward, or no, they prefer to be in the background for some further months. Ideally, everyone will get a vaccination very soon, Keith. I don't think so.
I'll let you know when I have mine.
Having talked with my GP and the total lack of understanding how they're going to handle first the flu vaccination, which all of us should take, and then the vaccination for COVID, if it appears, and how they're going to manage that whole caboodle. I don't think anyone's got any concept of how it's going to be managed at this.
I have no idea what
it's there.
I just don't know why people are wobbling about the flu this year. I mean, the transmission rate for COVID is something like 4. One person will infect 4 others if you don't do anything about it. The transmission rate for flu is about 1.3. So if you take a measure by a factor of 4 to try and avoid the COVID pandemic, you've reduced the transmission rate for flu to 0.2 or something. There just won't be any flu this year if people are taking the measures to avoid COVID. It seems crazy that they're worried about flu vaccinations and stuff.
Gary, this regardless is an emotional thing, and I'll repeat an oft-repeated phrase: there are lies, damn lies, and then there are statistics. So I think we just got to let everyone decide for themselves whether they feel happy, and no statistics are going to persuade them otherwise.
Just
one thing. Say, for argument's sake, we decided to stay with Zoom for the foreseeable future. How does that affect the long-term use of the club? Technically,
the long-term what? Sorry.
Well, if everyone decided to go to stay with Zoom for the foreseeable future, and say in I don't know, say 3 or 4 months' time, they said, right, we're now quite happy to go back to the club. Will the premises still be available?
That's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what.
Desperate they are for money.
Yeah. And if they get inquiries for Tuesday night and we decided to go with Zoom, they could well turn around and say, we'll have this other club come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, the council have always been very helpful and approachable with us. I think they've looked after us quite well, Barry, haven't they?
Yes, very, very well.
Can I say, hello, can I say, we've had, over, since I've been with the club, we've had 4 or 5 moves. We've never found it that difficult to find somewhere else to go, have we? Should they decide not to want us.
We've always found somewhere eventually.
Yeah, but then that
Nothing quite as comfortable as this.
That's
No.
because you live up the road.
No, the other thing is that it is quite reasonably priced compared to other halls.
Very
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Very reasonable. And like I say, they've always been very approachable when we've discussed anything. And like when we've had it, if we don't use the room for whatever reason, we're under no obligation to pay them. And they don't chase us for payment, do
That's
they,
true.
Barry?
That's true.
They allow us to have them off. I can't see, I mean, and I've no facts to back this up, but I can't, at the current situation we're in, and
You've not
Broken
paid
up
me.
completely.
who was
Dropped out,
that?
Pete. You've dropped out.
Peter, you are very stuttery this evening.
No, some won't know until, you know, and go back.
Quite a lot of it are sort of football clubs and, you know, people like that. So presumably they've got quite a young attendance. We, on the other hand, are quite geriatric, aren't we? Excuse my French. So I don't know.
Well, you could speak for everybody else, but don't include me in that if you don't mind.
Okay, all right.
I'm a youngster.
I mean, I don't know if that would dispose the council towards being favourable towards us because, you know, in a sense, the youngsters are gung-ho and they don't care if they catch it because they think they're only going to get a slight dose. But all of us, none of us really want to get it, do they? I mean, whether you think you're going to get it or not, nobody wants to get it because, you know, facing facts, it might not, we might not come out of it well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a special case.
No, I don't know how many other people use it, especially in the evenings. It might even be it's not in the other evenings during the week.
Guys, I'm going to have to get going.
Okay.
Is there any other need to knows or?
No, we're just going to get that email out later on this week. And then next Tuesday, we've got the Zoom meeting with the PDI critiquing with the external judge.
Brilliant.
All right?
Yeah.
But
Nice.
And then,
add one thought.
yeah.
It's quite a good juncture, really, for the committee to think about the benefits of Zoom versus face-to-face meetings. So if the benefit of face-to-face obviously face-to-face meetings brings you prints, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's more social than meeting by Zoom. If you're going to go to a combination of streaming, I think you also have to think of the social element for the people who are on Zoom. That's just thinking.
Yeah. I think that the main crux of the email coming out this week, and we all understand the restrictions that we're under, but I think what we're trying to find out is get a definitive answer of how many people are willing to come back. Because if it's only 6 or 7 people, it's not probably going to be in our interest to try and go through all the hassle of setting up, getting people to come in and clean the hall before and after each meeting, etc., and all the other things we're going to have to put in place. And in which case we won't bother with that and we'll carry on with the Zoom meetings. We're certainly not going to stop the club, but what we're trying to establish is how many people are going to come back. And if there's not enough people wanting to come back at this moment in time, we can leave it and review it in a couple of months' time. I mean, let's be fair, it doesn't matter guessing as to what might happen.
We'll be doing our outings, well. I mean,
yeah.
You know, we might have a couple. We might have 2 nights, or one night is Zoom and one night if the weather's good, or you know, do some night photography. Wednesday night might become social night out for small groups.
I was going to say, don't forget it's going to be getting dark at 7 o'clock before long.
Yeah.
7:30 now at sunset, aren't we? So
Yeah. Might be that what we might do is, because the majority of us are retired, is to have the meeting in the afternoon during the winter, meet up somewhere.
Yeah, makes sense.
And anybody that works, we could send you pictures on WhatsApp of what we're up to, so that you know we're all enjoying ourselves.
Especially if it's from the pub.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
So I think that's pretty much. I don't know if anybody else has got anything they want to ask, but
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
Ask one more about the logistics of the one-way system.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the side door where we're using at the moment.
Yeah.
So where is the exit from there? Straight across and then that way?
Now the exit is the door that is on the side of the building that nearly everybody uses to come in and out.
Right.
That will be the exit. You will have to enter through the entrance with grey door, the metal door ramp in front of you. As soon as when you drive into the car park, that's the one that faces you on that wall, on the long wall.
Yeah, so do you turn left?
Eh? You come in and turn left. You basically walk into the hall. That will be the entrance, and the exit will be the hall, or that's actually in the hall that everybody tends to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there'll just be an in and an out.
Right.
And obviously we'll need people there, which the committee will sort. Do what, Colin?
And there are other little things like you're not allowed more than 2 people in the toilet at any one time.
Remember that, boys.
I thought it was always women who went in groups.
Well, and you won't be able to touch other people's gear.
Yeah. It's you, Jackie, trying to entice all the boys into the ladies, I think, if I remember rightly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be clearly signed, Kerry. And obviously, and that is going to be the entrance and exit for anybody else using the hall anyway. Or using the pavilion.
So what about the other hall, if we need to get stuff out of the other hall, and the kitchen's going to be locked.
I'm going to have to shoot, guys. Sorry.
All right.
Okay. Have a good week.
Are we in the middle of are we doing any competition this week? Have we got any?
Not this week. Not this week. We'll probably set one up for next week because we've obviously got quite a bit on at the moment.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Take care, guys. See you soon.
Yeah.
Take care.
Cheers.
All right.
What I was thinking was, if you want to get a studio lights out, how do you go about that?
Well, we won't be holding studio light evenings whilst this is on, you see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because of that will then impact on the 1 meter rule.
Yeah.
Time you laid out put the backdrop down and put the lights out, there's not enough room for people to keep it even a meter apart.
Okay.
So there are going to be certain things we can't do.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why we can't go into that room as long as we clean it after we've left it.
Yeah.
To pick up any gear.
That's correct.
Yeah, does someone have to clean the adjacent room to the kitchen? You've got to go through the kitchen.
Well, no, you haven't got to go through the kitchen. You can go through the other door.
The exit.
Yeah.
Then it means you've got to go out the main door, back around the side, and then come in the. No, sorry.
No.
The same is true for toilets, Kerry.
Eh?
The same is true for the toilets.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to go out the exit and then come back in the entrance.
Well, we'll have to check. We will have to check. We'll have to check that out with how the hall have laid it out.
Yeah.
Because they're going to put the signs up and any entrances and exits. So we'll have to comply with them. But if you're in the building, you can still go back into the hall to go into the toilet without going outside.
Don't have anything to drink, boys, before you come in that night.
Yeah, it's not as simple as that.
There are plenty of trees outside, Jackie.
Right, is everybody okay then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get that put together and get that mailed out by the end of the week. and then we'll see where we go from there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna
Yeah.
myself, Gary, and Barry and Colin are gonna hang on and just have a quick chat about the some of the other issues. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you
Yeah.
next Tuesday, hopefully.
Tuesday.
Yeah. See you
Yeah.
later.
See you next Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night, all.
See you
Good
later.
night.
Right, Gary.
Good night, all.
Cheers.
Take care, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of my
Thank you.
birthday and have a drink.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah, from me as
Good
well.
night, all.
Yeah. Good night, Terry.
Bye all.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
Dennis.
Yeah, good night.
See you later. Cheers.
Good night, Roy.
What do I do, boys? I'm on my computer. Do I just press leave?
Yeah.
Click on leave,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
Leave meeting.
Oh, there we are.
Right.
And then there was 4.